John Jumper is an interesting one, right? He's left Google DeepMind for Anthropic. There's just this access thing that is going on in Anthropic. It just gives me goosebumps to think about the talent that are just becoming attracted to the Anthropic. And I think as a society, we are struggling with what the correct answer is.
Yugan, this is podcast 3 we are doing. And I think this is going to be more of a conversation between what you have built. Your last week has been really exciting in terms of being a doer. At the same time, a lot of things have happened in the last 2 or 3 weeks. The WWDC, Fable fiasco, and John Jumper and all that stuff. So shall we start with John Jumper?
Yeah, so John Jumper is an interesting one, right? John Jumper is a Nobel Prize winner from the AlphaFold thing, and he's left Google DeepMind for Anthropic. So that isn't like, oh, I'm going to pay you more kind of thing. Like he's left like his co-partner to leave for access to some of the smartest models out in the world, right? That is like someone who is deciding or putting a vote on like what is important and what the direction is. It's just so interesting, right? Like we've lost talent so many times in the history based off of like, I'm going to pay you more. But now we're losing people because they're like, you will have access to anything, right? You look at the guy that made OpenClaw, right? He was debating about who to go with. And in essence was someone gave him some of these huge models and unlimited access. So that's the question. Like, if someone was going to give you unlimited access to meet those 5, right? Would you stay at your company or would you like, that is too big of an opportunity? I want to be close to the doers that are doing big things. So I can't imagine the conversations that like John Jumper had at the dining room table about like, dude, I am leaving the person that I have built amazing things with. And I'm going to go and build even more things with other people. Like that had to hurt on a lot of different levels, right? So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
And and people like him, if they are going at Anthropic, there's something definitely happening on the table there that really fascinated him to leave DeepMind. I mean, it's a different story if you're joining Meta because, the remuneration package is very good over there. You take the money and then you will step. But for guys like John, it's like he must have got something that was like, yeah, I need to be on this bus. I need to take this ride and build something exceptional. So might be something Anthropic is building. Could it be possible that it's also coinciding with the fact that they're going for the IPO?
I don't think John Jumper specifically, even myself, I'll be completely honest. Like if all of a sudden Anthropic was like, hey, we're going to pay you $10 a year, but we're going to give you access to everything. Like I might be like, you know what? I'm going to sacrifice the next year, right? Like I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
be near the closest people and do big things. So it's just a really interesting world. I mean, look at also Anthropic pushed out that I can't remember what it's called. It's but individuals that only have like 2 years worth of experience or less. There's like this foundational thing. They're going to pay you $85,000 a year, so they're going to give you a salary, but they want you to go into
Okay.
like not open source, but like community things and like start teaching people that aren't using AI to use AI. So like there's just this access thing that is going on in Anthropic, right? There's like money games that are
Mhm.
going on with other competitors, but that is a brain drain. Like it just gives me goosebumps to think about the talent that are just becoming attracted to the Anthropic because of them wanting to do big things. It's very much like SpaceX and Tesla, right? Like it attracts talent, whether you like those people or not. It is attracting talent because they are trying to do big things.
I think Anthropic has now all of a sudden a major advantage, or it's way ahead in the race of AI when we talk about OpenAI or Gemini. I think it's moving paces and it's building things at a very different rate as compared to what OpenAI and Gemini is doing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree a little bit. I do think it's still a little bit of a horse race, right? If
Mm,
later on I'll show you like some of my token burn stuff. There are certain aspects that I love about Codex. I don't know if personally I would want to be in that team, right? Like, and it's nothing against them. It's just like I might not mesh with that kind of thing. I think they're all
yeah,
doing really interesting stuff. Like, I think Google is doing some super cool stuff with vision and images, right? Because we all talk about large language
yeah,
models, right? And some of the
yeah,
language stuff can make images, but you've seen some of the images and the hallucinations, right? But I think
yeah.
in real soon, we're going to see some really, and we already see really amazing stuff with Google with images. And images needs to happen, right? Like if we're going to talk about robotics and putting AI in robotics, robotics need to understand images, right? I also think that's why something with XAI and the Teslas and having a lot of that image processing, that is something that we are hitting on a lot. So, and a lot of the smart people that are doing research are talking about that hurdle between large language models and large like vision models.
I think ultimately, maybe 6 months or a year down the line, it's going to be, yeah, they specialize in this, they specialize in this, and it's going to be a much narrower path for these LLMs because none of these companies are near Banana Pro, what Gemini is doing. Similarly, the reasoning is very good for Claude and the way it's been furnishing things. Claude Design did try to do that, but it's nowhere near that.
Yeah. Yeah. And now and keep in mind, like, if you're really interested in quantum computing, right? Like, there's no better place to go towards than Google, right? Like, so there's a lot of
Yeah.
interesting things going on, and it's interesting the talent that everyone is bringing, either because of money or because of the opportunity cost of being close to certain things. So, I mean,
Mhm.
it's super exciting.
Yeah. And moving on that note, Fable 5, right? It came, it shook the
It
world,
came, it went.
and then it went away. Yeah, and
Well,
then it went away. And people are talking about why it went away, but there are not many people who actually burnt a billion token on it to build something. You are one of those guys who did that. What happens with Fable 5? How good it is? Like, is
yeah.
it like
So
on a completely different level?
I would say at first blush from my workflows, I would say I probably saw a 2x, right? Like, and that's like a 2x from already a good position, right? Like we were already moving at a high velocity, and I'm saying 2x from that. And also, Fable 5 was an interesting thing, right? It was this weird, hey, you guys will have access to it for 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks, then you're gonna have to pay per token. And we have talked about it, right? What happens with FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. And we have talked about like,
Yeah.
you need to do a gut check, 30, 15 minutes. Can it affect a present workflow? If not, it can wait to the weekend. For me, it was one of those things when I did that gut check, it was not a wait to the weekend. It was drop everything I was doing and try to consume and use it as much as possible. I use Claude Code a lot. It built right into Claude Code. And I sent it against every one of my applications. And I said, hey, look at all of these under a new lens and tell me what's wrong, be it because of bugs, because of security, because of just inconsistencies, and what would be make an action items list. And I had probably 10 tabs of agents running on every one of my like 25 some applications, just thinking about like what should we do and start spinning up those things. I also started going a little bit crazy on like what are moonshot ideas that I would love to play with, but I've been scared or just haven't had the time with. And we're going to talk about like some of those applications, I'm sure, later on. But I was just
Yeah.
shooting for the stars. Like, hey, how hard it would be to make an application for the Apple Vision Pro? How hard would it be to make AR glass stuff? Like, I was just shooting and just trying to see as much as possible. So in 3 days, I burned a little over a billion tokens, and I probably had a little withdrawal when it was gone. And then when I surfaced, you heard everyone talking about like cool it was, but no one was showing anything or the politics of what like I just was just shaking. Like I wish I still had access to it. Like I just wanted to burn, burn, burn.
I think 1% people were actually able to use Fable 5, to be honest, and build
And no,
something
nothing's
out of it.
nothing is perfect, right? Like it was not perfect, right?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
definitely enjoyed my little bit of time with it.
So when you say it's better, like, is it better on all the aspects, or is it better in the analytics or the reasoning, or it's a complete different level altogether?
No, so it's still struggling with the visual aspects. We've talked about Claude design, like still not being
Yeah.
perfect. It still was not good with that. I was sending it
Hmm.
against a code base, right? And that code base is already relatively refined with UI. So I really wasn't asking any UI. The UI questions that I was asking it, like user interface, was consistency, right? Because sometimes you get UI drift because you have similar apps, but then they kind of become different versions. They have different things. So I was looking for like consistency along my apps to make sure that I'm using the same components and those components are reused. So that way it's not making a whole bunch of different components. So it was more just going after the code versus like make me a beautiful presentation.
And when we talk about, like, it came and it went away, and it was not that an organization decided to pull the plug, it was the government forcing them, that organization, to pull the plug. Do you think it is justified for a government to be involved into an organization that is doing such amazing things? Definitely not bad, but yeah, somewhat good because of the way it has been branching out. Do you think government should have a call? And is it going to be the new normal now that they can pull the plug whenever they want?
It's an interesting thing, right? Like, we all live in a world where government controls import and export, right? So
Yeah.
when you have a product that doesn't go in a shipping container on a boat that goes across an ocean, should you still have those import and export controls? It's a hard question to ask. And I think as a society, we are struggling with what the correct answer is, because you can have another country or company touching that Claude Fable and try to learn from it, right? You've heard about, like,
Yeah.
that kind of concept. So it's like if I was in another country and I just went on Amazon and I just kept on Googling a whole bunch of terms, all of a sudden those products are sitting in my warehouse, right? That's a very weird thing. And our human brains are struggling with what is the right answer.
And so I'm again tracing back to John. Do you think his coming to Anthropic is going to affect the models in some one way or another?
That's an interesting one, right? Because he was very influential in that whole AlphaFold, right? So the
Yeah.
what he could bring to that team could be very interesting. He could also be an interesting peer review for the use cases that they're trying to do, right? Like, they could say, "Hey, we would really like you to keep on going after the medical industry so that we can better society." So, like, identify good use cases so that we can bring those use cases in and you help lead that stuff, right? They're also trying to do a lot of different things, Anthropic, right? Like, they're not, like, switching up their leadership, but, like, different leaders are going to different meetings, and they're finding that those relationships or the conversations around that are a little bit better. It happens even in my company, right? "Hey, Jurgen, you have a
Yeah.
good relationship with this client. Can you interact with that and socialize that topic?" Or, "You know what? You don't have a good
Yeah.
relationship with this client. Let Bob go over here and socialize that topic," right? And I
Mhm.
think some of these companies have struggled with that, right? Like, they always bring the bigwig, but maybe the bigwig doesn't have a good relationship with that. So John could be an interesting thing of, like, "Hey, you've been in the medical world, in that sphere. Let's bring that goodness over to this and give them the tools and these models so we can move society forward." I mean, what if we solve some of the biggest medical problems, like, in the next year? Even if we solve some of them in the next 3 years, that is a singularity that we cannot understand.
And one of the things is, imagine in 3 years if AI is able to pre-find cancer even before it starts existing in the body. Yeah, so that would be
Even if it's 10
something
years
that would
from
be
now, right?
definitely.
Like, even
Yeah.
if it's 10 years, that is a game changer. But the scary thing is it could be 3 months, right? Like, I
Yeah.
can't even fathom it.
So how soon is Fable coming back? Is it like going to be government organization thing
Yeah.
that they
I'm not a
decide, or
gambling
is it
man, but if you
like
said,
some?
"Hey, if you gamble 25 cents, what's your wager on this one?" It's a rough one.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna see a trickle effect. They're gonna say, like, "Hey, these people have controls in place to confirm that there is not offshoring of these items." And, hey, we see it in the utility space, right? Like, "Hey, we need your call center to be onshore. You cannot have your call center offshore."
Yeah.
So we see those
Yeah.
controls. I mean, we see that every single day. I've worked for large engineering firms building large power plants, and we had certain floors in our office that were building or designing nuclear things, and you had to have your badge to go be able to go in there to make sure that there wasn't foreign individuals seeing that stuff, right? So we deal with that every day for last 20, 50, however many years, right? Since probably back in the nuclear times. So I think people are going to figure it out, but we just want to stub our toes a little bit.
I mean, so help me understand it. So at one point, Anthropic is releasing a paper and saying, the AI is learning too fast. Okay. And then at one point, they're talking about putting these checkpoints. How these two balance out each other? Is it really something that we can do, considering that we don't know what is happening inside that black box?
Well, I mean, they've been saying this since ChatGPT 3, right? Like, "Hey, this is going too fast. We need to slow down." Have you seen any slowing down?
Yeah,
And that's why a
definitely.
lot of people are concerned. People are concerned about the IPOs, right? Now your financial
Yeah.
interest, your fiduciary interest is different, right? Now it's money. So is that the direction that we want to go with these things? I struggle with that one,
And I
right?
think
Like,
that's, ultimately money is a derivative for these companies because they are large corporations backing them, right?
mhm.
So they are looking at that financial book and then they're saying, oh, hey, when you are going to make profit. And then John comes into the picture who doesn't care about that thing. And then they say that, okay, Fable needs to come back. Then the government comes into play. So I think only the guys that are actually building this know the whole story.
Yeah, it's cool. I think it's very empowering times, right? Like if you want to empower yourself and yourself because of money, right? And move yourself up a scale, or if you want to empower yourself because of the big things that you want to do.
And this is coming again. You are using Fable, and the past week, you were using close to 1 billion tokens a day. Now, when you add the word billion besides anything, the magnitude grows. You know, what does 1.3 billion token actually look like if I want to visualize it? Like, what is it getting it in for you? What you're able to achieve?
Yeah,
I
so
mean, I think
let
that's
me
too many questions in one go, but
let me share a screen for a second. So I think the coolest thing that gives me goosebumps is this. Yeah, so this was a moonshot idea. I
Mhm.
saw a video a couple months ago about Amazon and their delivery guys. It was an R&D thing, so it's research and development, so it's not fully out there, where they had glasses and it would show like, hey, you need these 2 packages, and also note that this house has a dog. So it had like a little puppy paw print on their glasses. And this is dark view right now, but in essence, when it's on glasses, all you see is the streets. And
Yeah,
so recently I picked up a pair of Meta display glasses where there's a screen on one of the lenses. So what you're seeing on
yeah,
this is displayed on one side of the lens, and it's controlled by the neural band thing, which is wicked interesting, right? So that on your hand, you can swipe up and swipe left and right with your thumb, and you can click
yeah,
things with
yeah,
that kind of navigation. So what I was trying to see is like, will we eventually have our work order management system in our lenses? So it will show me, hey, I need to go to this house for this. We do utility work, right? So electric, water, and gas meters. Hey, you need to go to this property. You need to change this electric meter. It's this kind of electric meter. And note that there is a dog at the property, or the lock key for the community is XYZ, right? So that would be in their thing. And then when they go and they do the meter exchanges, they can say, like, take a picture and do all this stuff. And it just goes naturally. And their hands are free to do their work. And the camera is giving them the information that they need for the next step and walking them through the work order and so forth and so on. So hypothetically, if you were in this and you were doing your little neural thing, you could zoom out from the work order, like, hey, this, I can see where the meters are. I could zoom in. It's just
mhm,
so interesting that this concept that I was like, is not possible. And within an hour, I had a working model that was in this lens. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, the words coming out of my mouth just don't make sense. Like, I don't even think that's possible, but it was. So it,
and it was not possible like a couple of months back also. And this is even if for now, even after it's built and you have tested it and you're using it, still feels quite astounding that okay, I was able to do this thing. I was able to build it in an hour and ship out and test it, and maybe going to use it for a lot of times in the coming days. It's not that I'm going to stop using it. Maybe I make it a better version of it or add more features. But here is it, and this is something you built in an hour.
yeah. Well, and we're getting ourselves close to things that will happen, right? Hey, I'm not saying that these glasses are going to be on our field technicians in the next year. Probably not. There's a whole bunch of things
Yeah,
that need to happen. But we all
yeah,
know people that have smartwatches, right? And how many people look
yeah,
at their text messages on their smartwatches before they
yeah.
look at it on
A
their
lot of
phone?
them.
And I would
Yeah, a
say
lot
that
of them.
probably in a year, you're going to see more people with AR glasses. It's not going to be everywhere, but you're going to see it. But in
Yeah,
5 years, probably everyone's going to have it. It's going to be the same. Like, geez, I mean, 10 years ago, we weren't doing work order management system on cell phones. We were using paper 10 years ago, right? And now, if I
yeah,
went to a company and said, I do my work order management system on paper, you would get thrown out. So
yeah. And the
eventually we're
same
going to
thing.
have to do it.
And I was working with this guy, and they were managing their whole inventory on Excel, taking print out and all that stuff. And I'm like, this is 2026. Let alone
Mhm.
AI, this is definitely not the way to go forward with it, writing it on paper and taking out prints. Just build an app. That magnitude has definitely amplified with the way, I think for me, it's Claude, the
Mhm.
way Claude has been helping build things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing that I built this last week that is like super empowering. Let me share this. Yeah. So I love and hate workflows. I see the value in building them because a lot of people are visual learners. So when you say, hey, there's this workflow, you're supposed to do this first, then this, but then if you fund into this loop, then you might have to do this or that. So it facilitates
Yeah,
alignment. And I think that's a lot of time. What we struggle with teams and why we have meetings is to have alignment. But if I have a meeting with you and I don't put anything up on the screen and I just wave my hands, my chances for alignment are low. If I wave my hands but I'm sharing something like this, my alignment increases. So I hate the fact that there's all of these tools that cost us money. I don't think they're bad tools. I'm
yeah,
not saying that they weren't worth money in the past, but it's like I bought a whiteboard or a chalkboard and that company charging me every month to use a whiteboard. It makes no
whiteboard. Yeah,
sense.
correct.
Like I
Yeah,
can draw on my whiteboard as much as I want. No one's charging me per the marker or per the whiteboard, but that's what happens with Visio. I have to pay every single month. Am I getting any new features from one month to another? Probably not. So I built a flow charter that now my whole team can use, and now everyone doesn't need a subscription and they can build as many workflows. And like we build in certain little nuances. Like I hate every time I draw one of these lines, their lines are like off and all this other things. So like I made custom little alignments and all these things, just problems that I was dealing with every workflow managed. But we built this, another one that we built in an hour. Like it's just bonkers that we can just make whatever we want. And now we can focus on like doing bigger things and having more alignment. And it's just so interesting to hear our team meetings now versus 6 months ago versus a year.
yeah. And the thing is that the reality is like looking at your face. Stop using subscriptions. That model is dead. Build it, right? and
So,
and the more you think about it, the more you're able to realize. I've been talking to you and it becomes quite evident now that, okay, these subscriptions, I don't know how long they're going to be there. Or maybe the human nature and this is, no, I don't want to build it. Not every guy wants to build a tool of its own, and they still continue existing. But in the right way and the right sense, that tool is becoming capable of building as many tools you want. And unlike these softwares, you can make an update every day
yep.
rather than
Well, and
waiting for an update every year.
yep. Well, and here's another interesting one that's not really subscription based, right? So Power BI, it's a dashboarding tool. And there's like Grafana out
Yeah.
there that's also free. So most of these are both relatively free products. Struggle with using software sometimes, right? They weren't built for me. And maybe I have some nuances, right? Maybe the way I do stuff isn't the way everyone else does stuff. But we're living in a world of accessibility, right? Because of my problems of how I like to deal with a computer, now I can build a custom Power BI Grafana system for me. And what I'll show you is something else that we built this last week. This last week has just been crazy, right? Just because of everything access.
Yeah.
I have to make a lot of reports. We talk about alignment, right? I have a whole bunch of reports that I need to share our shareholders or our clients and whatnot. And sometimes Power BI takes a lot of work. So I was like, you know what? I would love to have a charting lab. I want every kind of charting element that I could possibly use with any of my clients. So I just built a whole cooking book. And we've talked about cookbooks before, right? With Python and other things.
Yeah.
We do a lot of I
Correct.
love this
Correct.
one. This is one that we do a lot of scheduling, right? We need to get to someone's house because I
Yeah.
booked appointment. So I want to look at appointment saturation. So this helps us show a saturation. Like, hey, we got enough appointments in the morning for the 16th, but we still have a whole bunch of slots available in the afternoon. So this is a custom mechanism that we use for our own system. And I love this thing. It's very clean. I love it. But if I had to build that in Power BI, I don't even know how long it would take me, but I have that charting element. So now I can talk to my AI and say, hey, I want C18, but I want only 2 rows of that charting element, C18. But then I also want C20. So now my AI is like a Power BI mastermind. And it's just bonkers that now I have that also cookbook that I can make custom Power BI-ish style things and give them to my clients. It's just like mind-boggling. And now my client will be able to consume how productive we are out in the field, right? Like that's what they pay us for, right? They pay us for comfort, right? Obviously, they want us to do things, but they want to see
Yeah.
that, like, I trust you and I want to make sure that you are bringing less stress to my world. If you're bringing more stress to my world, you're probably not going to be around long enough, right?
And so one of the things that I wanted to ask, and so when I was building this tool, so we had to use a PDF parser to convert it into Excel, take out the data from there. Now Claude started building a parser of its own rather than using what on available on GitHub or some other platforms. What
And did you
goes
catch
into
that
that, and how
because
and that
let me interrupt. Did you catch that because you were following its thought process that it was giving, or did it finish its thought process
no.
and then you saw what it was doing wrong?
So it's finished coding, and I tested it, and it was
Mhm.
getting out random data, not the exact data I wanted. And then I asked that, okay, these are the mistake. Then he started again building that parser into
Mhm.
that, and he actually started hard coding into that, custom lines for that specific case. And then I realized, okay, this is not a parser that he's using from some third party. It is actually trying to build its own.
Yeah.
How do you identify that? And that took like an hour or so. So
And how many
a
tokens
normal
you
guy
burned?
would get frustrated. Yeah,
Well, think how
thousands and
many
thousands of
tokens you
tokens. There
wasted.
was no, yeah. How do you identify that? Like, is that
Th
something that is very normal?
Yeah, it's a tough one, and think about these. As these models get smarter, they could almost invent anything, right? Like, "Oh, you wanna build an application? So I'm gonna build you a whole Windows OS system so that you can build the," like, it's like, "Oh, you went too far," right? And so that's a tough one,
Mm,
and it's the same thing as, like, if you wanted to paint on as a hobby, like, yeah, you could go
yeah.
out and find all the pigments and make the paint yourself, right? And some people do that. They're very
Hmm.
artisanal. They
Yeah.
want to do everything themselves. There's people that love knitting, right? They go and they have sheep and they
Yeah.
bring the wool out and they do all that stuff and then they knit. So that's the hard part, right? I'm kind of a person, I want to buy that thing from the store and then knit so that way I can like rapidly prototype. So I think we're gonna struggle with that, right? So, and I think that's where there's a lot of human capability to move ourselves up the food chain, and
Mm,
I think that's where you're gonna have those specialists. You're gonna have those orchestrators, right? So maybe aren't the coder nor the person talking to the AI code. Maybe you hire an
yeah.
orchestrator that is that person that still understands that nuance of, like, I want you to grab this from GitHub, but I want you to build this part yourself because I want to kind of own it. And like I just showed you with my charting lab, like Grafana is out there. It is a free thing, but I told it I want to build it and I want to own it all myself. So there could be someone out there that was like, you know what? Doing that PDF parser all yourself is where I want to be because I want to own it and I want it all just in my space because I want to understand it and I want to make sure it's secure.
Okay, yeah. And the thing is that you automatically realize it, right? And then you have to tell it that, okay, I don't want a custom parser. I you can
Yeah.
just take anything from GitHub. I just Google and found it, and then I put it, and then the results were coming. Now here's the
Mhm.
interesting part, and I just remember it. So this guy who was coding, he was first building it in Claude Chat, and Claude was like, it prepared a HTML file for him, and it
Yeah.
was giving all the results. He was just uploading the PDF and was giving the results, and he showed it to me. And Claude is doing this thing for me. I said, how is it possible? And Claude gave a whole system of how it can build the app and maintain it on the server and all that stuff. And then I asked him, just ask Claude, can it deploy on the server for him? Because you're a no
Yeah.
coder, right? You don't have how to move the file. And Claude says, no, I cannot do it, but I can guide you.
Yeah. Yep.
And that guy is like, okay, I have spent so much time on this, and
Yep.
this is the end result. So sometimes it's really trying to please you without telling you the reality of what's possible and what's not.
Well, and maybe I heard you wrong, but I think maybe I didn't. Is you've heard me say before, like friends don't let friends drive chat, right? Like try to get out of chat, like especially if you're in chat versus
Yeah.
like co-work or code. I mean, I'm hardly ever in chat. I really use chat like a Google search thing. And if it's anything besides the Google search, I'm out of chat.
Yeah,
So friends do not let friends use chat.
yeah. Yeah. So then I asked him to obviously set up VS and all that, and then we
Yes.
started building on it because the limitation of a non-coder is you cannot deploy it to server. You don't know how to
Yeah.
do that stuff, right? And
But
Claude
that's
is
not going
doing
to be
it,
a
so let it
problem
do it.
soon. Like we're already seeing OpenAI
Yeah,
trying to push applications. Like we know that's a limitation that only is going to exist for the next couple of months.
yeah, yes, and that is happening, and that is a reality that is not very far.
No. Yeah.
And I think the more these tools are evolving, I'm worried about platforms like Replit more and more because the capability that these tools are giving is far more better than what we are getting on these closed environments. Because I
Yep.
think platforms like Replit are a closed environment and they have their own frustrating levels of limitations.
I still love Replit. Like, I mean, I won't use it, but like, if someone needs like a
Mm,
gateway drug, I still like Replit versus like Base 44 and whatnot. Like, Replit's a little bit more open than Base
yeah,
44, but obviously, if you're willing to take the jump and just download Claude Desktop and use even just Claude code in Claude Desktop, you're already going to be a lot farther.
yeah,
If you want to be fancier, do a
yeah,
VS Code, do an anti-gravity IDE or something like that, like that's only going to empower you more. But and
yeah.
also
uh,
one other thing about like the applications of talking about like friends don't use chat. I think people are struggling with the capabilities of what these things really can do. And now that we have a lot of our own applications, a lot of my users are
mhm,
like, man, this is really great. I can do more work. But like I spent 8 hours doing this thing the other day, right? Because I needed to keep on doing these searches and then I downloaded it to an Excel file. And that's why our team does like nerdy sessions. We do nerdy sessions with every one of our projects to make sure, like, hey, do you know that there's a better way to do that? And we use Claude Code to talk to the back end of our databases to do queries, right? Like, hey, can you see? We do a lot of phone calls, and sometimes those phone calls are like trying to book an appointment or whatnot. Maybe we send them a link for a self service portal. We're able to have
yeah,
Claude Code be a data analyst for us, right? Like it's not doing any coding. I mean, it kind of is doing coding because it's writing a SQL query, maybe to do a query against a database to say what's your averages, what's your standard deviation, what's your conversion rates, right? So, I mean, it is becoming a real worker. I mean, besides like making reports, but like asking questions, like how many of these things do we have? We saw this problem. How many are there in the database? And people, they didn't realize it was able to do that. It's just coding. It's just coding.
no.
Oh.
And one of the things was I noticed is so one of the scenarios was we had to use Cloud API because
Mhm.
we actually needed the AI to read that file and then extract data from that. And this is again another realization, and it was I think costing around 10 or 12 cents per API hit that was happening.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, his billing came around $2 or $3. Okay,
Mhm.
it's very less, but if you compound it to an annual thing, it's around it's a monthly thing. It's around $90 or so.
Mhm.
Okay, and he was hesitant in using that in spending that $90 a month
Mhm.
in terms of the API cost. So I think it's going to maybe take a couple of more months or maybe a year for people to realize, okay, this is far more effective than doing the manual labor yourself.
Yeah, its APIs could be looked at in a lens like an outsourced helper, right? Hey, do
Hmm.
you pay someone to mow your yard or do you pay someone to cook your food, right? Like we all probably go out to a restaurant and we spend $50 to go eat at a restaurant. You outsource someone making your food. What you're doing is just outsourcing someone doing those things. And we've struggled with that sometimes too. There was a situation where we had some pictures from some of our work order management systems possibly going into the wrong categories, right? We have a category to say like, hey, here's the meter as we found it. Here's this or that. Here's a door. And we had some of because we leave a door hanger to say, hey, we were at your property. And we found a case where some of our door hanger pictures were in the wrong category. And so as a team, we made a
Okay.
decision of like, hey, do we want to spend $100 to make sure we don't have any more of this, right? Because our client also looks at these pictures and we want to make sure that we're giving them the best product. And we were like, you know what?
Mm,
This is a worthwhile venture, right? Like it fosters some more confidence with our client. It's going to stress everyone out. We're probably going to debate about this with our client more than $100 if we don't fix it either, too, right? And I think we're
mm,
living in a weird world of, I'm hesitant to say this, but a world of abundance. I'm hoping for a world of abundance where it's like, if I spend this $100 in the world, I make more than $100. Not me, but I put more energy in the world than $100. And I'm thinking, I
Yeah.
hope that happens, right? Like every $100 I spend makes 1,000 goodwill dollars. And that's how we're trying to look at it, right? Like that thing that took someone 8 hours to do, even if it took AI a lot of money to do, maybe that would be goodwill for her because she could work on something else, or maybe she has to go to a doctor's visit or something, right? So I'm hoping that we look at what more do we create with this.